Next up, the comedy of Mr. John Youker.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, stick it in the...
Well, I can, but I probably won't. All right. Under the chair. So it's 2 a.m. on Sunday morning. I have about 5 hours of sleep in the last couple of days, none of it REM. I drank something earlier in the evening that was either moonshine or pine sol. I don't know which, but I'm not blind yet, so I'm guessing moonshine. So let's do this. So I'm trying to come to terms with the fact that I am half a man and half amazing. And it's a burden that's difficult to deal with. You know, it's because it's tough. Because so many expectations come from it. You know, everybody expects so much of you, right, Kelvin? Because it just when you have so much going on, you know. So I was watching these Japanese kaiju movies, and something occurred to me. Well, okay, several things occurred to me. One, Japan. What did you guys do? Why are they so mad at you? Why do they always show up to your door? Two, why did they never try, like, raid? Especially with Mothra. I mean, I know, yes, later on, many of them became heroic figures, especially Godzilla and Gamera, because children love Gamera, and Gamera loves children. And, you know, we believe in Gamera. Turtle. Mothra, you know, and she had those. Yeah, and Mothra was a she, by the way. Mothra was a she. Had those two tiny little twin singing creepy, freaky things, and I don't have two voices, so I can't really mimic it. And I thought, this was my third thought. I'd like to see those two on The Voice. I'd like to see those two twins come up on The Voice and just see, you know, they start and they're sitting, and the hosts are all sitting back there going like, what the fuck? What's there? And to see them all turn around and be like, oh shit, what's that? And then they sit, and there's these two tiny Japanese, well, the actresses are Japanese. I don't know what ethnicity they were. There's some island in the Pacific. And you know, they're tiny and they're singing, and then Mothra shows up in the studio because she's drawn to them. That was the whole point of the movie. They kidnap these women, these tiny women, to perform in a nightclub. And then Mothra is like, I don't think so. And she comes in larval, because she's supposed to be a moth, but for most of the movie, she's like a caterpillar. So it should have been like Caterpillara, or larva, or big thing that crawls and crushes. And it would be neat to see Blake Shelton get crushed by Mothra. I'm just saying. Or the Adam, what's his name, from Maroon 9, 5. What? Levine? Adam Levine and his abs. His wonderful cheese grating abs. His abs of steel. Or adamantium, or vibranium, or whatever they make Ginsu knives out of. Probably death. Death from above. 1979. So I'm not a Catholic, but I think I'd make a great pope. I say this because I think what they need is an outside perspective. I think they need someone who is not raised in the Catholic faith, nor is an ordained minister of the cloth, who is a married man, which I think is a disqualifying thing in their hierarchy, I think. The fact that I have known the touch of a woman sexually, I think kind of disqualifies me. Outside of the whole ordained, not being ordained thing. Yeah, that kind of does it. I think just if they just kind of did like a lottery, they just like randomly pick my name out of a fishbowl, which I think is what they do anyway, isn't it? They just put all the Cardinals' names, and then they blindfold an intern, and he just kind of sticks his hand in there and pulls it out, and they go, "Okay, you're Pope now." And then they just have me be Pope, and they just announce it at St. Peter's Square, and I like come out to the old Elvis Vegas intro. You know, the Thus Spoke Zoroastrus, 2001 A Space Odyssey intro, followed by CC Rider, with my bedazzled papal robes, and my giant hat, because I will have a giant hat that I will wear at all times, that will have my name bedazzled on it, because I will not change my name. I will be the 24th Papal John, and it will be John, and it will be 2 and 4, not the Roman numerals, because they will not fit on the papal hat. The papal hat is big, but not that big. There's no room for X, whatever the hell it is. And I will make my papal declaration from the papal pulpit. I will take the time to translate it into Italian, because some things are just too cool not to change. I will speak like Mario, because I wish to. I will say, "It's a me, the Pope. I've come to change, because in my mind you speak Italian like this, because I don't actually know it yet, but that's why I just talk like this. I say, hey, we change this, we change that, and I wear these now, and we all have to bedazzle all our outfits now, and we have disco balls into the churches, and we dance. Every day we dance into the church. That's what we do now. It's a mass now. Mass is a big dance party. Everybody dance. Come, let's all dance down the square. Come, let's dance. Come on, the rat singer. I see you over there. You Pope Emeritus, you. Come on and dance. You old fart. Come on and dance. You old German fart. Come on and dance. I see you there dance. You don't get it to sit in. Now he's dead. Now he's dead. That's the rapscallion. That's how bad he no wanted to dance, eh? That's how bad he no wanted to dance. That's so bad. That's too bad. That's too bad. He no get it to dance. I think he kick-ass Pope. Or do I want to be an Elvis impersonator? I just they're kind of the same thing, aren't they? Pope and Elvis impersonator, they're just true, white, bedazzled, big bulge in the crotch, cape, fried peanut butter banana sandwiches, illegal Dutch immigrant as a manager, married to a woman with a big Buffon hairdo, a lot of quaaludes, kung fu. Yeah, it's the same job, pretty much, right there. Yeah, I think I just want to be an Elvis impersonator. Pretty much. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Anyway, either way, it's either the Catholic Church's loss or Las Vegas's. I don't know. Whichever way I decide to go. So, how's everyone enjoying the slow death of our democracy? How's everyone enjoying it? Yes, folks, we've come to it right now. We've come to the sole political joke of my act. I do one political joke in my act. It's not the same one every time, but I do one. The reason I do one is because it's just gotten too weird. It's just gotten too strange. There's nothing that I, as a comic, can do that I can't quite. We had a guy in Cheeto dust last night dancing in a man. We can't, and that it was funny, but yet it was also realistic. He was painted in Cheeto dust, and it was realistic. That's where we are right now as a nation. So I do this joke. I have done it before, and I continue to refine it. And then once it's refined, I'll create another one, and so on. And then one day when we have survived this nightmare, because I think we will, we might not. We might be living in like Mad Max Fury Road or, something like that, or Walking Dead, something similar. Dibs on Negan. I will have hopefully a long enough act to reflect back upon the crazy time that led us to Ragnarok. So, Donald Trump is to the United States presidency what Professor Stephen Hawking is to the National Football League. Now, as awesome a thought as it would be to have Professor Hawking playing fullback, he can't pass protect. Oh, he can rush for yardage. He may be even able to do some short passing. Short pass catchers, West Coast offense. Bill Walton, rest in peace. But, it wouldn't work, as much like our president. So, there it is. And I hope to make this a continued trend into other areas. For example, Guy Fieri is to gourmet food as Stephen Hawking is to the National Football League. I say this because Guy Fieri was created in a manner similar to the Joker from Batman. However, instead of falling into a vat of chemicals, Guy Fieri was created when a humble sous chef with a dream of one day opening a fine dining establishment, following in the footsteps of luminaries as Wolfgang Puck, Julia Child, Chef Paul Prudhomme, who was cloned from Dom DeLuise. But no, he was not destined for that. No, Guy Fieri one day had a tragic accident where he tripped and fell into an errant vat of nacho cheese. He struggled for several minutes in that nacho cheese, gasping for air. And it was not until a fellow sous chef realized what was going on and opened up the valve at the bottom of the vat and emptied it out. And at the bottom of that vat, there was a creature that was, more artificial dairy product than man. This creature crawled his way out, and he had frosted tips. And it was not hair. His actual skull and head had reformed itself into bleached blonde frosted tips with a goatee that did not match, and tattoos that weren't ink. They were there. They were part of him. And weird shirts and something about Flavortown. That's all he said. It was the word Flavortown, Flavortown, Flavortown. He was like a Pokemon saying its own name over and over again, but it was Flavortown, Flavortown, Flavortown. And he saw himself in the mirror, and something inside of him snapped. It snapped that day when he saw himself. And strangely enough, it was exactly like that scene in The Killing Joke, where he just looked at himself and went, and he began to laugh. He began to laugh uncontrollably. And then, in the final horror, a pair of sunglasses grew out the back of his head. Disoriented, shocked, scared, unsure of his place in the world, our mysterious sous chef ran from the restaurant, panicked. It was raining. It was scary. He was almost hit by a truck. He ran, not sure what to do, till finally, tired, exhausted, he came to the gates of the Food Network. The Food Network had been struggling for some time. Emeril Lagasse had attempted a sitcom. Why anybody thought that was a good idea? Well, we've all smoked bad pot. The executives were all saying to themselves, ladies and gentlemen, We're in a bit of a bind here. We need something new, something good, something different, something, and that's when they heard it, a tapping at their window. Like a lost puppy. Like something out of a children's story, yet this was no children's story. This was a horror story. This was like something out of an old EC comic from the 1950s. You expected the crypt keeper to be hiding behind the photocopier to come up and go, and there they saw him. There they saw him, this nacho cheese drenched California thing. And one of the other executives, he was an older one, he was the one who was, well, he had less scruples, let's just face it. Because you can't have full scruples and think this is a good idea. And he said, bring that thing in here. And they brought him in, they toweled him off. They gave him some coffee. And they said, what's your name, son? And he said, Flavortown, Flavortown. And then they slapped him. And this seemed to knock some sense into him. And he said, I'm sorry, I don't remember what my name is. All I can think of is exciting flavors and cheese and Flavortown. And if you say, and the executive stopped and said, if you say Flavortown one more time, I'm going to hit you again. They said, okay, fine. Now I think, don't forget it, but that does sound like a catchphrase. And was another executive in the back of the room. It was Leonard. Now Leonard was about 107 years old. He'd been around since the invention of television. Back when TVs were about this big. When you had to be really rich to get them. Back when the first television broadcast happened. When FDR, yes, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, appeared on television. And he came in and said, that man is going to be a star. And everyone looked at him and said, I think dementia's set in. But they figured, well, he was right about Emerald. He was right about those crazy Japanese game show chefs. Why not? But he needs a name. He doesn't remember his name. What are we going to call this guy? Mazel tov. So they called him Guy. As for Fieri, well, that's lost to history. They think the fee may have been because they were paying him a fee. As for the Yeti, well, he was a mysterious creature that came out of the ether, like the Yeti. Or something like that. There's still some mystery to it. Anyway, they came up with this sort of sham game show called the Next Food Network Star to cover up getting him on there. And then there he was with his big bite and his diners, drive-ins, and dives and his restaurant in Times Square that served food that not even a drunken college student would eat. His grease. It was like biting into a greasy pile of grease. It was like biting into a McDonald's hash brown that had gone cold. We've all been there, haven't we? Oh, yeah. And that, my friends, is Guy Fieri's horror story. And don't get me started on Guy's grocery games. That is a horror story for another time. Maybe if we do a Halloween show, maybe I will show you with the horrors of the Crypt of Terror, the Haunt of Fear, the Vault of Terror that is Guy's grocery games of the damned. So I have two cats. One we call the Dowager Countess. Like Maggie Smith's character on Downington Abbey. Because she's old. She's old, she runs the house, and she only makes enough effort in movement so that we don't think she's dead. That's just basically her life, is doing enough to reassure us that she's not dead yet. Which is fine. Every once in a while, just meow, meow. As toward her sister, who is not old, who is quite young, and is somewhat like, how do I phrase this? Have you ever given a small child a Red Bull? Something like that. Now take that child and cover it in fur, and then give it razor blades on its fingers. That's our younger cat. It's sort of, and I don't think she obeys the laws of physics, because there are certain times where gravity does not, like, she does not obey gravity at certain times. There are times where it seems like the force she's giving off just, it's like a rocket booster. It's like a Saturn V, just I'm not getting her down. And the worst part is there's a crawl space in our basement that she can access. And she hides in there. And it makes noise. And it sounds like there's a demon possessing our house. It's the cat, which is kind of the same thing, I guess, but when you really think about it. But we're trying to block it off mainly because she comes out and there's insulation on her. And she might be eating it. Which is sad, but yet also somewhat interesting. No, it's bad. It's bad. No, she shouldn't be. But then again, it could be. No, it's bad. It's no, John. It's bad. It's bad for the canteen insulation. Don't. It's bad. You've been over it. No, shit. No, don't. The wife said it was bad. She said it was bad. That's why she wants to put the plywood up there, so that she can't jump onto the dryer and scare the shit out of you again. Yeah. Because she gets up there from the dryer to the washer and scares the shit out of us when she jumps down, and poof. So yes, she's a demon cat from hell who likes to scare us and does not obey the laws of physics or motion or gravity or really any of them, really. I think she's from another dimension. I think she's like Mr. Mizjespitlik. You know, she's from the fifth dimension, and I have to get her to say her name backwards. Yeah, I said I had one political joke, but actually I have two. So she's like Trump. We have to get Trump to say his name backwards so he'll go back to the fifth dimension. Or is that Rance Priebus? It's both of them, actually. It's Priebus and Trump. We have to get Rance Priebus to say his name, which is tough, by the way. Have you tried to get... I can't say Rance Priebus backwards. It's like Resubus Perpervidiper. Reprubus Reprobabiber. Suppository Resprobaba. Resprobit. Don't get me on Rance Priebus's origin story. Because if you thought Guy Fieri's was terrifying, let me tell you about the origin of Rance Priebus. Once, many years ago, there was a squirrel. And this squirrel became possessed by a demon. We'll just call this demon Steve. Every demon has a complicated Latin name, but this demon's name was Steve because, well, his parents were hippies. Whatever the demon equivalent of a hippie is, his parents were that. So they called him Steve, and Steve the demon, well, he didn't fit in with the other demons while they were busy possessing Catholic girls and, you know, messing around with Mexican families and appearing in first-person perspective movies and, you know, doing all of that and walking through flour that was put on floors and making a fortune on bogus A&E television specials. Steve liked to smell roses, which made him a bit of an outcast. Till one day, he had a plan. He would cross over into our world without having to possess a Catholic girl. Which, to give you perspective, in the demon world, saying that you're going to cross over into the human world without possessing a Catholic girl is kind of like saying you're going to travel from the Earth to Mars in an Uber. In a hybrid car. well blindfolded. So Steve goes on Backpage.com, orders a book called Crossing Over Dimensional Pathways for Dummies. He reads the first chapter, follows the instructions, crosses over, and he ends up in Cleveland. Yes, I know. He's immediately frightened and goes back home. He tries again. He ends up in Washington at the Republican headquarters. He walks in, is going to ask for directions, because he's not wanting to go there. He's wanting to go to the headquarters for the National Church of Satan, because he thinks those are his people. But the person at the front desk thinks that he is the image consultant that they have asked for. So he has to go into a meeting and consult them on an image. And when they asks for his name, he just says the first nonsense word that comes out of his mouth, which was Rance Priebus, which in the demon language is the word for that spot on a man's body in between the ball sack and the start of the butt crack. The taint, thank you. The taint, or the gooch. And that is his origin story. Not as fantastic as Guy Fieri's, mind you. And when I wrote the two of them, I said to myself, one of these is fabulous and great, and could go on par with like Crime and Punishment, and the other one, but go with both of them, see what happens. And now I know what to do. I often wonder if the reason the pyramids looked the way they did was because their budget kept getting cut. Because if I was a pharaoh, I wouldn't want that. I would have just lodged a complaint. I would have just been, seriously, Snefru? Seriously? I wanted like a tower or a cube or a sphere. What the hell is this? Well, maybe we can store grain in it. That's 3. Damn it, I said 1. Damn it. You said 1, then you went to 2. You should do 3. You should push your luck. All right. Getting sweat in my eyes. Whew. Yeesh. Okay. So, clock, nice. Oh, yeah. I've known that's been there the whole time. I just, I noticed it, but never really noticed it. It's sort of like how, like, you always notice people, but yet you don't really notice them. Like the person at Starbucks or Caribou that you always order your coffee from, you notice them, but you don't really notice them. You don't always take a good look. You don't always, you're like, yeah, I'll take my whatever chai, latte, soy, blah, 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 blah. You don't ever look and see them as a person. You don't ever see that person, for who they are. That person who decided an English degree was a good idea, and now they're here. Or they're in high school having their first job, and they're scared, and they have a bright future ahead of them. Or they just want free coffee. You just need you don't know those things. So I'm going to wrap it up with this thought. Many years ago, I contemplated a thought why, back when I was more religious than I am now, why all the great biblical figures were married except for Jesus. And then it hit me. And I think Sam Kinison hit on this, and I'm like, well, maybe he was just mad, but then I thought about it, and I'm like, yeah, he was right. And ladies, I want you to maybe you can reiterate this for me. If your husband went to the city with a dozen of his friends and came back with that story, would you buy it? I didn't think so. That's my time. I'm John. Please keep contributing to Die Laughing. I'm blinded with sweat.
John Youker.